Hello and welcome to episode number 179 of the Launch Lounge podcast. Today's episode is called Hot Tips to Define Your Niche. And in today's episode, you are coming on a walk with me. Yes, Friday is walk and talk, and I'll walk through the suburbs of Brisbane, and you get to join me as I share some of the aha moments from conversations with students and clients this week. And my hope is that you will leave today's episode having learned one way to think differently about how you define your expertise and your niche, so that you can cut through the overwhelm and clearly identify the problem that you solve and exactly who you solve it for. So stay tuned.
Welcome to Friday. On a Friday, we are going to walk and talk. It's going to be a little more casual, a bit cash, and probably a little bit more relaxed. I'll share a little bit more behind the scenes, maybe a little bit of my life. I'm not a huge fan of feeling like my life is on show on social media, but you're different here on the Launch Lounge podcast. It's totally different. I feel like you're walking with me and we're friends and we're just catching up. So come walk with me every Friday. We're going to walk and talk. Gosh, why is I so out of breath already? So for those of you who are brand new to the show, and you're like, who is this girl anyway? Maybe you've listened to a couple of episodes by now. Maybe you've gone back into the vault, back to the Shine Show, and enjoyed a couple of those episodes. What you need to know on the Friday episode about me is that I live in beautiful, stunning Brisbane in Australia. I have lived in Brisbane now for coming up to 5 years, I think. Yep, 5 years. And before that, my husband and I lived in Perth, which is in Western Australia. And before that, I lived in Johannesburg or Pretoria. I lived in Pretoria in South Africa, and I lived in London for 3 years, and I grew up in South Africa. So if you're new here and you're still going, why does this chick have such a funny accent? It is because I am South African. I have lived in Australia for 15 years. So the Aussies have influenced my accent a little bit. And I work with Americans. A lot of Americans. So sometimes my Aussie friends say I'm starting to sound American. My South African family says I sound like an Aussie. Mostly the Aussies say I sound like a South African. So I don't know. You tell me. What does my accent remind you of? People ask me a lot if I come from the UK. I don't. But I did live in London, mate, for a little while. So I can ask for a bottle of water confidently. That's about as British as I can get. Brisbane has a lot of hills where I live. So if I sound out of breath, it's not because I'm unfit. I'm very fit. It's just because I just climbed like 40 meters. I just climbed 40 meters while I was telling you about my accent. Give me a moment. Let me go through it. All right, so here where I live is also kind of around where Bluey lives. So if you and your family are fans of the show Bluey, for those of you who don't have a clue what I'm talking about, you need to find Bluey and start watching it. Even if you don't have kids, it's the best show on TV. So I live kind of near where Bluey is. So whenever you see those like wide establishing shots of Bluey's town, check out the hills. That's where I'm walking right now. So you'll see this is a bit of an up and down. And from where I live, it's not too far away from a beautiful, beautiful old cemetery. And I like to go and walk in the cemetery. So you'll be joining me in the cemetery today. And I have wondered if I should put photos up about that. But I believe in some cultures, it is not good to see images of the deceased. And so I try to be respectful. I also get that it might be a bit creepy. For some people, it creeped me out a little bit initially when I thought about the idea of moving in next to a cemetery. But, you know, the neighbors are very quiet. No, it's a beautiful old cemetery. It is like my happy place, and I love walking there, so that's where we'll be walking. So now that you know a little bit about me and where we'll be walking on Fridays, I invite you to come with me every Friday. Come walk with me. Let's walk and talk, and I'll tell you a little bit about conversations that I had in the week, either with clients or with team members or with my students inside the Launch Lounge membership. Because when I tell you about the things that I talk about to them on a weekly basis, you're going to learn. And when you learn, we both win. I want you to learn. So I'm not going to prepare like super polished content for these Friday walks. We're going to wing it. We're going to go cash and we are just going to have a chat. So something that has come up a lot lately inside the Launch Lounge membership is your ideal customer, defining your ideal customer, and defining your ideal customer at different stages of where she or he interacts with you. We want to always have a very clear picture of who our ideal customer is and what the problem is that we solve for it. But it can easily become tricky when we are so good at what we do that the only thing we see is how we solve a problem for them or what the solution is that we give our clients. And when we then go, well, I solve XYZ problem for XYZ person, it often comes out as the thing that you do. I will give you an example. Wonderful student, Ashley, shout out to Ash in the Launch Lounge, is working on defining her ideal customer at the moment. She is a registered dietitian and she works with women in their 30s. They're mums, they are tired, they're balancing having little kids and working. And so anyone who's been there will know that that is such an extreme tiredness that the last thing you want to do is go on a diet. But also, when you're in that phase, you're coming to grips with the fact that these kids have wrecked your body. And those skinny jeans that lie in your cupboard staring at you, that you used to love wearing at date night, or looking a bit sexy on Saturday going to a barbecue. Yeah, those skinny jeans are not going to fit your butt anytime soon. And of course, that can have an incredibly negative impact on your self-esteem and on how you relate to your body. Because nothing quite changes your body like having kids. That's until you hit your 40s and you go into perimenopause, and then it's a whole nother alien that takes over your body. But let's leave the 30-year-olds in the space where they're at and not tell them too much about what happens when you hit 40 yet, because they'll get there. Then it'll be a whole nother realization. All right, next to your busy road now, so we can stop a little bit and you'll catch up when I'm in the cemetery. All right, should be a bit quieter now, or you'll hear it. It's sicky. Anyway, back to Ashley's ideal customer and how she wants to help them. One of Ash's biggest desires is to help these women overcome diet culture and fit back into their skinny jeans without dieting. So when we're defining an ideal customer, the question is, do we talk about her desire to not promote diet culture and to not do it in a way where you're not on a diet? And so this is where the question comes in. What do people want? What does her ideal customer want more than anything? If we focus too much on non-diet diet or on diet without diet, she's not going to pay much attention, because we have been so conditioned to believe that if my desire is to lose weight and my pain is that I can't lose weight, then I need to search for a solution to weight loss, which is A, either exercise, or B, diet. And so for her to position herself as a dietitian who's going to show you how to not diet is not going to help her find her ideal customer in a place where they have pain and in a place where they have a strong desire for a certain result. So what she's going to have to do is really get clear on how the pain and the desire that her ideal customer has shows up in her daily life. And that's where the skinny jeans come in. That's where the, things like you pick the food off your kid's plate. Like 40-year-old women with teenagers don't do that. That's not a problem for them. 30-somethings, yeah, they relate to the specificity of that moment where you feel perhaps shame, perhaps self-judgment, perhaps failure, because you've just picked the fish finger off your kid's plate again because it's 4 p.m. and the kids need to eat, or 5 p.m. and the kids need to eat, and you've starved yourself all day and you're only having dinner at 7. And so there's a specific problem or there's a specific situation where the problem that our ideal customer experiences shows up. Now, once she creates content that connects with her ideal customer, in that moment, her ideal customer is going to come and follow her and listen to what she wants to say. But she's going to have to meet her ideal customer where they're at on social media for the first time in that moment of either highest pain point or deepest desire. And the more examples she can use that are relatable to that 30-something woman with the small kids, the better she'll be able to create content that she connects with. The more she talks about the non-diet diet on social media, the less this woman is going to hear her. And that doesn't mean that her methodology shouldn't be the non-diet diet. It just means she's going to start educating her ideal customer about her unique solution and how it is different a little bit further down the funnel, a little bit further along. Maybe once they're on her email list, she's going to start talking about why dieting has failed you. So we're talking about the difference. So she's got to meet her ideal customer where they're pain aware and then bring them into her world, onto her email list with a small solution that's going to help them address one small pain point that they have. And they're going to relate to her content and connect to her content because she understands them and she understands how the pain shows up in that moment when she takes a bite of the fish finger, or in the moment when she finally gets to go out on a Saturday night and she wants to put the skinny jeans on and they don't fit. And then Ash is going to give her a small solution to that pain point. And then once they download the small solution, they're going to go onto her email list and she's going to educate them on why everything they've done before hasn't worked, why diet culture fails, and why her solution is the only solution that will work for them or is unique and different, and she's going to back that up with social proof. So when you're sitting down to define your ideal customer, I want you to differentiate between who she is and her pain points and what your methodology is for getting her results. Your niche, your ideal customer is not your methodology. Your niche or your ideal customer is the problem you solve that this one specific person has. So separate your methodology from your ideal customer. And I hope that gives you a little bit of clarity about getting clearer on who your ideal customer is. So if you really want to take this a little bit deeper, sit down and write down, maybe begin with what your unique take is on the problem that you solve, because that's going to be the easiest thing for you to do, because you probably know that like the back of your hand. You've probably been doing that for many years if you've been working with people one-on-one, if you have some kind of a practice or a coaching business or a consulting business, and you're looking to go a bit broader. But remember, when you go from having a offline business or a model where you're working with fewer people at a higher price point to a model where you want to reach the masses online, then volume is going to matter. And the only thing people pay attention to is the thing that matters to them. So if you have a microsecond to catch their attention on social media, either on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or wherever you are, and you only literally have a microsecond because they're scrolling while they're watching TV, they are not going to care about your methodology. So sit down, define what your methodology is, define what your unique formula is, or your unique take on this problem that they've tried solving for so long, and then create a whole new section where you define who this person is, and most importantly, what their pain and their desires are, and link each one of those pains and desires to specific ways that it shows up in their lives, so that you can create relatable content like fish finger going in the mouth or choosing the skinny jeans. And there's a bazillion examples of that you can think of. And then think about the content you put on social media, where we're talking about the very top of the funnel. So this is the content that kind of goes out and finds new people for you as that relatable piece of content that shows them you understand pain that they're in, you understand the desired outcome that they want. And then think about your lead magnet as a way to give them a quick win related to specific pain points or specific desires. And then think of the content that you create on a weekly basis, either your blog, your podcast, your YouTube videos, or just your emails that you send out weekly, as an educational tool to help them then understand why what they've done in the past hasn't worked, why your unique method is perfect to solve a problem. All right, that's what I got for you today. I am really hoping that it has worked well to walk and talk, that I'm not too out of breath navigating the ups and downs of the suburbs and living and the cars. And I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've had a lovely week. Thank you so much for joining me on this first week back on the Launch Lounge podcast, previously the Shine Share podcast. And I look forward to hanging out with you again next week. Take care. Bye.